Look, I want to make it clear that I'm always happy to be able to talk about NEPA. Many of you know that it was my husband, John Dingell, who worked on NEPA as the original author, was there when it was signed into law, and worked hard his entire career to keep the balance on this right. Today, though, it continues to be one of our nation's strongest tools in ensuring communities across the country have meaningful input on major federal actions. NEPA's directive is clear. The government must consider how a project will affect the environment. Communities and people affected by the projects must have a fair chance to weigh in on its merits, and this includes the consideration of environmental justice, climate change, and the full range of impacts on the land. And as our nation continues to face a worsening climate crisis, whether people want to admit it or not, it's imperative that the voices of those most affected in the communities are heard. I do agree that we need modern reforms for NEPA, but the continued partisan proposals we see from the other side of the aisle just stand to weaken NEPA and undermine the community's role in decision-making. This bill was passed and is still considered the Magna Carta, so communities impacted have their voices heard. And I've stated I remain open to an honest and open conversation to find a bipartisan solution to long-term NEPA reform that truly continues to protect our communities and streamlines NEPA for our projects. There is a misconception here that we need to choose between protecting bedrock environmental laws or accelerating clean energy permitting. Let me be clear. We can and must do both. Now I want to turn my attention to the witness today, one of them. Mr. Mergen, the two variables impacting time of approval timelines is the applicant and the administration. We hear from across the aisle that the federal review portion of the NEPA review causes significant delays. Mr. Mergen, during a NEPA review, can you clarify what is the largest contributor to approval delays?
For sure, the largest source of delay, the largest source of delay is inadequate staffing and inadequately trained expertise. And on the applicant's end, it's very important that they provide accurate and complete information. I think we've all been in the situation where the application is incomplete, there's inadequate staffing. These sorts of things create delays.
So, Mr. Mergen, to follow up, are the administration's recent actions, letting employees go, some will call it firing, related to the federal workforce helping or delaying NEPA reviews?
Substantially delaying NEPA reviews. We need a trained workforce. I'm not saying we need everybody. You can expedite with AI, with all sorts of informational tools, but you need a trained workforce, and we are losing those people.
So my final question for you is, across the aisle, we continue to see attacks on judicial review and hear that a majority of NEPA reviews are being held up due to these reviews. Mr. Mergen, what is the average number of NEPA reviews being challenged in court? And do these delays always result in an injunction or actual delay?
No, the average, I don't know that I have the most up-to-date information, but it's in the 20% range that are actually challenged. And I really want to focus on remedy and relief, right? Because the real source of delay, as we all know, is when an injunction is entered. And courts don't issue injunctions very frequently. And following the court's decision in Seven County, right, we are going to see far fewer injunctions entered against NEPA projects. That doesn't mean that those lawsuits can't be helpful in terms of improving those projects, but as a source of delay, I think we can anticipate a great decrease in the burden that litigation imposes, with one big exception, right? In order to defend the administration's NEPA decisions, you need an adequately funded Department of Justice at capacity. And those people who defend these decisions are also leaving in droves, and that will be a source of litigation problems. We already see the Justice Department asking for extensions of time to respond to cases because of the burdens of their workload.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to yield back, but I am committed to working with you all on a bipartisan permitting reform efforts, but we got to make sure we do it in a way that protects the communities that we're representing. Yield back.